Hi, Randy Hoexter here from the Atlanta Institute of Music with the second in our Ask AIM series, which probably should be called the Things You Haven't Asked AIM Yet, but might ask sometime in the future, so we'll preemptively answer them now series. What we're going to talk about today is delay, using delay to create a spacious sound. Not so much delay used to create a rhythmic echo like you might find on a guitar part, but just general delay to give things some motion. What we're going to use today is a saxophone solo, soprano saxophone solo by the wonderful Sam Skelton here. Let's listen to how it sounds. Okay. Now, we're going to introduce delay. I've put it on a separate fader, a send, and then a return, so that we can bring in the delay. Now, what I have here is the stock delay plugin from Mo2 Digital Performer, and right now it's set to the default of 500 milliseconds. If I introduce this delay, and we play the track, not particularly what we want. Let's talk about all the things that aren't working right now. First of all, the delay is not synchronized to the tempo in any way, so it fights the rhythm of the song by having an unrelated rhythm. Secondly, the delay is too loud, generally speaking, and doesn't blend in and kind of calls attention to itself as an artificial effect. Thirdly, the delay is mono, meaning that it is also panned center essentially and is occupying the same location in the stereo field as the lead instrument. It has only one repeat, which is unlikely in nature, and it doesn't combine itself with reverb and other sounds that probably would make it more natural. So let's address these issues. First, let's address the tempo issue. This is accomplished in a couple different ways. One way is to use the beats feature of the delay, which in this case you could select, but I'm going to choose to do it by manually setting the delay time for a number of reasons that you'll see. So let's use a calculator and set the delay time to match the tempo. We can see here the tempo is 150 beats per minute, and we will perform a calculation. Let's take the number of milliseconds that are in that minute, 60,000. 60 seconds, each of which has 1,000 milliseconds. Let's divide it by the number of beats that occupy that same minute, which in this case is 150. And the answer is 400 milliseconds gives us the delay time that matches the quarter note. So we will reset our delay times, 400 on both sides. And listen again. Now, it's an improvement because now we no longer have this chaotic rhythm going on. However, the other factors still remain. Let's address the issue of the mono or non-stereo feeling of the delay. In reality, a delay or a reflection would not come from the same direction as the instrument that we're listening to. It's unlikely. Likewise, the spaciousness we're looking for with delays is compromised by the fact that they're coming from the center. With an instrument like the saxophone, we're kind of seeking out what's called the center channel or the phantom center, where we hear the instrument float between the speakers as if there was a third speaker in the center. This is a good thing. However, because the delay is set to the same amount on both sides, it also sits in that phantom center. Likewise, because it has an identical tone quality to the saxophone, it's going to compete. So one way to handle this is simply to change the delay time on one side to another rhythmically relevant setting. So here we'll set this delay on the left side to 200, which is half the delay, therefore an eighth note rather than a quarter note. Let's listen to that. Somewhat of an improvement now because at least the saxophone isn't being competed with. However, we're having problems with the left-right distraction that's created by this. A lot of times with a delay like this called a ping pong, we end up with the delays call attention to themselves because now there's one coming out of one ear and another out of the other. Plus, the bouncing back and forth can be like being at a tennis match and can be a little bit uncomfortable. So let's use another approach. When the two delays are identical, that's going to put them in the center. If they're slightly different, just by a few milliseconds each, that's going to confuse our sense of localization and move the delays off to one side. So I'm going to move them 3 or 4 milliseconds in each direction. The left side a little shorter, right side a little longer by 3 milliseconds. And let's listen now. Now it's an improvement as well. However, some of the other factors are still at play. One of which is that a single loud delay is very unlikely, and a single bright loud delay is even less likely. So let's address the tone quality of it. Here I'm going to introduce a plug-in that is set to a treble cut and a pretty savage bass cut here just to get rid of all the lows that might exist. They're not going to reflect very well. So we end up with a somewhat of a mid-rangey megaphone-like sound on the delay. So the lack of brightness in that delay gave it a sense of distance and a sense of having traveled somewhere through the air, some distance through the air, which in fact is true. Sound having traveled a couple hundred feet would not have the same amount of brightness, so this makes it sound more natural. Let's also address the issue of the volume of the delay, which really can only be done with all the tracks on to really sense where it needs to be. Now that's an improvement again, but we still hear the echo sort of sticking out. Let's introduce some feedback or regeneration. We're going to set it to about 30 or 28%, something like that. And what this is going to do is enable us to hear more than a single repeat, which will allow us to lower the volume a little. Let's listen to it now. It's a little smoother. Now we'll go one step further and we'll add a little of the reverb back in, which I have on another bus here. Now putting that in the track, delay and reverb together and at a reasonable level. Now, to review what we did here, so we set a delay to match the tempo, but we offset the left and right sides by 3 or 4 milliseconds up and down around that delay time. We added some feedback to the delay to give it multiple repeats. We filtered out the highs and lows. We reduced the volume, and we blended it with some reverb, all of which allow this delay to give us what we want, which is a little bit of motion, a little bit of activity without creating that sort of fake stomp box delay sound that would detract from the song. So hopefully that was helpful for you, and we will see you next time. Thanks.